am Daniel Lucas, and welcome to Book 101. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. She is a Prodisiac food expert and the author of Aphrodisia cookbooks, no other than Miss Amy Reiley.
Hi there.
Welcome back, Miss Amy, and as and as usual, can you please introduce yourself?
Sure. So, as you mentioned, I'm considered an authority on aphrodisiac foods. I have actually written 5 aphrodisiac cookbooks plus a book that is a part of a whole system of eating for your sex life called the Better Sex Bundle for Men. I have my master's degree in gastronomy from Le Cordon Bleu. And I love food and I love history, and they all came together for me in this wonderful topic of aphrodisiacs.
Yes, congratulations for all those books, Miss Amy. What are your goals or aspirations as a writer?
So my goal overall in my writing, in my speaking, in my consulting, all of it is to get people excited about great food choices, to get people eating, making smart food choices, eat well, eat healthy foods, eat foods that are good for the planet. And I do this by talking about how they will help your sex life.
Certainly. How do you approach writing a different genre or audiences?
I really I always just focus on writing for anyone who is curious, for the curious audience. Now, some of my books are very much more for they're fun cookbooks that are meant to be for the gift market audience. And so that's a little different than writing something more serious that is health and research based. And it does, you have to be very careful with both that you prove that what you're saying is found. There's some scientific base to what I'm saying, but for one audience I try to make it as fun as possible, and for the other I try to get them as in-depth of an understanding as I can. So there's an interesting challenge that sometimes I'm a bit of a health writer, whereas the rest of the time I'm just trying to reach sort of a more general audience.
What inspired you to become an author?
I was working as a freelance writer, writing on wine originally, and then on food, primarily aphrodisiacs. And there just isn't a lot of there wasn't at the time, it's improved. There wasn't a lot of great information on aphrodisiacs out there, including there was just a hole in the book market. There was a hole in the cookbook market. And so I just wanted to fill that void, which I have done with 5 books.
Congratulations for all those 5 books, Miss Amy. So, can you tell us about your writing process?
Well, the process of a cookbook author, it's fairly similar for all cookbook authors in that it starts with recipes, right? And so it really starts with formulating those recipes and testing. So the writing process is very, very different for a cookbook than it is, say, for fiction. So for me, it's all about testing those recipes. And also, I always make sure that I get home cooks to test the recipes, because I want to make sure that the language is clear and that the recipes will turn out in a variety of different kitchens. And so more than focusing on the words on the page, I focus on the accuracy of those recipes and use feedback from my testers to discover what wording you need to use to make the recipe more clear.
How do you balance writing with the other aspect of your life?
It is difficult. Uh, which is why I've only written one book since 2018. Uh, it's tough. It is really tough to write when you also have to kind of hustle to make a living and you have a family and children and responsibilities of all of that. And I know most authors could speak at great length about trying to find that balance and still tap into your creativity. And these days, sometimes you just use a little AI to get you through writer's block, or when you know you just have a short amount of time and you need to get something out quickly, you kind of get it to do the first draft for you. And and I'm sure you've had authors talk about this, you have to throw out most of what it says, but it kind of gives you that bump, that little bump into where you need to go.
Certainly. So, Miss Amy, before we go on, I want to shout out to the people listening in Spain. Muchas gracias, todas Spain, for supporting this podcast, because in Andalusia, I got 41% audience, Catalonia at 15, Madrid at 14, Valencia at 9, Navarro at 4, Galicia at 4, Castilla de Leon at 4, and many more. Thank you, or muchos gracias todas Spain, for supporting this podcast, because this podcast is created to empower writers all over the world like Miss Amy Reiley. Talk about your first book, Fork Me, Spoon Me, the sensual cookbook. How did you craft it?
Oh my goodness. So the Fork Me Spoon Me was my very first book. And in some ways it is still my very favorite book. It actually still sells very well, which, is a testament to what it does for people. It is such a fun book. I focused on 12 aphrodisiac ingredients that were things everyone could go to the store and buy. They're reasonably accessible. With the exception of saffron, they're all fairly affordable. I did not want to create a book that wanted people going out and buying things like oysters and sea urchin, because that's just not realistic, right? So, I mean, for some people it is, and in some areas it is, but not for most of us. So I focused, obviously I'm in the United States, so I focused on what I know people in the United States would have readily available across most of the country. And they are delicious ingredients like chocolate, peaches, ginger, chili peppers. So I focused on these 12 ingredients, and I went a little bit into the history and mostly the fun side of the history, right? And then I taught people what to do with it by offering recipes in a variety of experience levels. So there are some recipes you will find in this book that you can cook even if you cannot boil a pot of water. But there are also more challenging recipes for experienced cooks, so that you can, for people who want to create a multi-layer food experience, there is something in this book for them as well. I really tried to take a holistic approach to creating an aphrodisiac cookbook when I made Fork Me Spoon Me.
According to Jane Lee Torres, don't be derived by the cover. Can you explain that?
So my cover is a little bit naughty. In fact, we actually had to make 2 different covers for this book because I found that there were certain stores that were a little more conservative. There also I was doing a lot of national television in the United States at the time, and some of the shows were like, whoa, we cannot put your book cover on television because it is
alluring.
It is an alluring cover. It is a naked woman in front of a very full refrigerator full of healthy, nutritious aphrodisiacs. Now, there is absolutely nothing that no naughty parts are showing. It's just a very alluring, tantalizing sort of photo of this woman. But it was enough for some of the television stations to say no. So there is actually a second cover in existence, which mostly is used for conservative groups. Sometimes I'll use it for giveaways and goodie bags when I'm doing television. And that one is simply me wearing nothing but an apron, which is fine because, I'm kind of covers everything, a nice black apron, holding a silver fork and spoon. And so that one's, it's just a like torso up. Yeah, it's a cute alternative cover. You can actually order either one from just about any book retailer I know in the US and Canada, as well as Great Britain and parts of Asia. And then anywhere there's Amazon, I know you can get it through Amazon.
Yes, and according to Kelly B, I love the list of ingredients at the front because I dot dot dot. I love it. I love it. I love it because probably she experienced the thing that she want to be experienced.
Exactly.
So Miss Amy, when you're crafting this book, what are your aspirations?
I wanted people to just try aphrodisiacs, to have fun with aphrodisiacs. I wanted to teach them a little bit about what the term truly means and how it can add a little romance, a little spice to your love life. And actually, I have heard stories of people using this book to help them find love, using it, sort of as a manual to seduction and to creating that romantic life that they want, which is not something that I ever dreamed could be possible with my cookbook. But I have heard that it happens, and I'm so honored to be kind of part of people's journey that way.
Certainly. So, Miss Amy, let's talk about your negative reviews, and let's do talk one by one. It says to P. Nelson. He said, "This pointing as a cookbook." So, how would you comment on that?
I have heard that, and it's by people who have the expectation when they buy this book that it's going to be a traditional cookbook where it's just 5 sections of recipes, and it's a recipe heavy book, and you're going to get 100 recipes. Well, first of all, you should probably know by the size, right? That it's a small book. It's a small gift, a gift size book, the kind of thing that you buy somewhere and put in your suitcase, right? That's what it was designed to be. So you should know from its 144-page size that you couldn't possibly be getting 100 recipes. They wouldn't fit on the pages. But, I do understand that if that was your expectation, yes, you may be a bit disappointed by the sheer volume of recipes in the book.
Definitely. So, Mr. Nelson, or I don't know if you are a woman or a man, P. Nelson, this is Miss Amy Reiley explanation of what you're talking about. But overall, people are satisfied of what contributed to the world. So, Miss Amy, when you're crafting this book, what do you think is the best highlight for people who want to read this?
And by the way, I'm so sorry. You could probably hear my dog in the background. He just saw another dog on the street, and he is very excited, apparently. And he's in the other room. I have no control. So I'm sorry about any extra noise.
No
sorry. Now, what was the question again?
What would be the best highlight for this book?
This is a funny thing to say. I love the introduction to this book. I do. I think it says it all. I think I put everything in there. I think if you read the introduction to my book, you will so get aphrodisiacs. And I tried to, write it in a kind of a fun and inspiring style. So for me, that it's all right there.
Can you read some of the paragraph of this interesting?
Oh, I feel so put on the spot because, cookbook authors, most authors are used to doing readings from their books, but we cookbook authors are very rarely asked to read from our books. Oh my goodness, I feel nervous. So once a man I dated 2 or 3 times offered to cook for me. Because I'm involved in the food business, most men never work up the nerve to make me a meal. I was impressed by the boldness of his invitation, and yes, I was pretty doubtful about his cooking skills, but worry was overshadowed by my interest in what was clearly an open invitation to seduction. Any man who invites you over to dinner on the third date has more than whipping souffle on his mind. The meal was delicious, the mood electric. There was a white fish and mango sauce, chocolate, white wine, red wine, and strong cups of coffee that carried us deep into the night. It was not until much later that he found the nerve to admit that he tried the ambitious menu for the very first time that night. He chose the ingredients not to showcase his favorite recipes, but because his buddy instructed him to use all the right ingredients to create an aphrodisiac dinner. Although I wish I could claim it, this story is not my own. A magazine food editor I know shared this tale of seduction with me when I started talking about writing this book. There you go.
There you go. What a amazing starting paragraph of the book of Miss Reiley. Spoon me, fork me, spoon me, the sensual cookbook. But before we go on, Miss Amy, I'm inviting you to listen to my other podcast, Food 101, our fourth season with Chef Alessandro, one of the best executive chef in one of the five-star restaurant in downtown Toronto. Please do listen to our latest episode. We talk about our Food 101 Volume 12 Italian Cuisine. Plus one more, our books are out. Not only one, but 13 volumes. People, Food 101 Volume 1 Basics until 13 is only the books that you need how to create a delicious food. Available at Amazon and leading online bookstores worldwide. For me, is Spoon Me, the Sensual Cookbook. Best part of the book that you can share to us.
Oh my goodness. I think you just have to get the book and experience it for yourself, really.
Yes, that's good. That's good. So, can you give us steps for those people that, let's say, beginners in aphrodisiac book, what they gonna do first?
Ooh, beginners with my aphrodisiac book. You know what? I made this book so it was a fun read as well as a recipe book. So just sit down and read it. I know people who keep it by their bedside and read it before bed as you would a novel. It's a great way to get an introduction to aphrodisiacs, and it's just a fun read.
Yes, to boost your sex life. Can you share a simple ingredients? Let's say I'm making souffle. What can I put on my souffle that make this souffle aphrodisiac food?
Oh my goodness. Well, souffle is one of my favorites, but you could make a souffle in any number of aphrodisiac flavors, like a chocolate souffle, for example, which is one of the ingredients featured in Pork Me Spoon Me, or mango, also an ingredient featured in my book. You could go a lot of directions with a good sexy souffle. I love that idea.
Yes, I love ginger souffle, banana
Mm.
souffle. This is the first time that I learned that mango is also a aphrodisiac food.
Oh, yes.
Oh my
You're
goodness.
gonna love my book. It's full of surprises.
Interesting facts that you need to learn, people. So if you are wondering if you want to boost your sexual life, please do buy all the books of Miss Amy Reiley. So Miss Amy, can you please invite our listeners to support Fork Me, Spoon Me, the sensual cookbook?
Well, thank you. Yes. Everyone, like I said, you can get my book from almost any independent book retailer in most countries around the world. And I hope you enjoy it. I will enjoy sharing it with you.
Okay, Miss Reiley, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Bodycam people, see you soon.